Hello and welcome to part 43 of this chess rating run series where I'll play a game in this first video and then I'll do a follow-up video with the game review. So I'll be doing a 15-minute game with a 10-second increment. That way I have time to explain the moves as I play. And a lot of viewers asked about what to do if you're not familiar with an opening and you come across some opening that you don't know how to play. Well, I'll try to explain some of that while I'm playing this game, and give you an idea of what you can do. All right, let's find an opponent. All right. Okay, so we have the white pieces. I'll play an opening that I'm not familiar with as much. I'll start out with e4. So if you're a beginner, e4 is a good move that lets your pieces get out. The game usually opens up more, and that'll help you with tactics. So especially beginners, I wouldn't try and memorize a bunch of opening moves. Just learn general opening theory. So push your pawns in the center to give your pieces room to develop. Then you can go ahead and develop your knights first because they're a little bit slower. We see that the opponent's doing the same thing. And then, if you can put both your pawns in the center, that's usually a good idea to do that. And your opponent, of course, will try and stop you from doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and recapture with the knight. Normally you don't want to move pieces twice in the opening, but if they capture one of your pieces and you have to recapture to make the game even, that's okay then. And they move that pawn twice in the opening anyway. All right, so here I have to decide what to do, especially since he's attacking this knight, and I'm not familiar with this opening. So, I could try and just develop here and, protect it with the knight, but then he could try and pin me. So, let's see. I could try, well, I don't know if I want to develop the bishop, because let's see. So already I'm having issues a little bit just because I don't know what the best move is here. So maybe I'll just try and pin this knight, but then he could break the pin with his bishop, and then I'd be back where I started. So what would be best here? And normally you don't want to move a pawn on the side here to f3 to protect this, because it can open up maybe some attacks on your king possibly. All right, so do I capture his knight, forcing him to double pawns, and then I could try and guard this bishop, or excuse me, this pawn, or if I tried to push forward, that would just give up the pawn. Okay, so I'm going to break a rule here probably, and maybe that will not turn out well, but I'm going to capture, and then that'll force him to recapture. All right, and so now I can develop my bishop, guard this pawn, and then I'll be ready to castle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and castle, get my king safe. Now, all right, so he pushes forward so he can develop his other piece there. I'm going to go maybe here to limit the scope of this bishop and his knight. But normally you don't want to move these pieces too early, your pawns. The best thing to do is just get your pieces developed. So let's see. Do we try and develop this knight here and then back over here to attack? Or is it better to just go ahead and develop the knight forward here? That's usually the best option. So I'm just going to go ahead, develop that knight. Okay, so now he's developed. So he's doing a good job of developing his pieces. I'm going to go ahead, develop this rook to the half open E file, or excuse me, well, yeah, half open file. Usually you want to get your rooks developed to squares where your pawns have been pushed forward, or the file's half open or even completely open, and it gives your rooks more scope. So anyway, in the beginning, you want to get your pawns out in the center if you can, then develop your knights first in general because they're slower than your bishops. And then that also gives you time to see where the best place to move your bishops will be, because you might not be able to tell at first. All right, so next I want to develop this bishop here and attack his bishop, and threaten to triple his pawns up. So let's see what he does. Maybe a good move. Okay, so he goes here. Now there's a threat with this battery of queen and bishop trying to capture here and maybe break open my king side. So what I'm going to do is attack his bishop like this. All right. So I'm attacking his bishop. All right, so now I can recapture with my rook, and that'll help guard this h3 pawn in case he decides to sacrifice the bishop, which now I could just capture with the rook. So hopefully he won't do that now. Let's see. So next, what would be best here? Okay, so he's going to try here to probably pry this open. Let's see. Push his pawns. So what I'm going to do is move out of the way, I guess. With the queen, we'll move over to here. We have to look for threats. So this is probably a good move. Get your queen off the back row. The only thing, my rook is kind of trapped in here. I'm thinking about maybe moving this to the other side, or excuse me, moving this final rook here to this half open file. Which may be completely open because he's probably going to try and push here. Push this forward, this pawn, and he'll want me to undouble his pawns. So that's one possible way the game could go. But if he pushes forward, yeah, I would have to capture. And then there's going to be this threat of him attacking. All right. So I don't know. Maybe I want to put my rook over here. Be nice to get this bishop out of the way. All right, but one of the main priorities, so if we go back, a quick review on the opening. You want to try and push your pawns, usually in the center, because the center is the most important area in the board. And the more your pieces can control the center by attacking these squares, the more influence they'll have on the game. And also when you move your pieces towards the center, from there they can more easily move to any other area on the board from the center. You know, especially slower moving pieces like the knights. If you had a knight on the edge of the board and you needed that knight to get all the way to the other side of the board, it just takes longer if he's on one side. But if he's in the middle, it's a little quicker to get where you need to put that knight. Okay, so he thinks, you know, he probably thought I was going to try and get some attack going on his king side. I guess that's why he played that. So let's see here. Let's see. If we move here, he'll just push that pawn. So I probably need to just develop this other rook. But the problem is going to be when he pushes this pawn, and then he'll have a threat. If I don't capture, and even if I do capture, the other pawn will recapture, and then he'll have a threat of a fork here on my rook and my knight. So let's see. If I attack, he can just push forward. All right, all right. Well, I could try and move here with my knight and then have the threat of jumping in here and attacking his queen and bishop. So that may work. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Normally you don't want to move the knight on the edge of the board, you know, because a knight on the rim is dim, is the famous saying, because it just doesn't control as much space. So I don't know, this might be a risky move, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe I can push forward here, or excuse me, push my knight here and attack the queen and the bishop if he pushes his pawn forward. All right. So let's see, at least that has him thinking. So back to the opening. You want to push your pawns in the center because those pawns, they basically cover a more important area of the board. Okay, so this is interesting. Huh. He's trying to limit the scope of where my... Oh, and he's threatening to attack me, so that's interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I could go here, keep his knight out of there. Or do I just attack? No. All right, so he decided to do the same thing to me that I was going to try and do to him. So... do we put the rook here? That is the question. All right. If I put the rook here, he could just push this pawn forward. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Keep that knight from being able to jump in there. Okay, now the problem is he could develop his other rook here and line it up on my queen. So, you know, that's a possibility. Okay. All right. Well, I probably need to get this pawn pushed up to b3 to protect this knight and get ready to push maybe this other pawn up. And I definitely need to do something about this rook that is not doing much there. So develop your pawns, in the center. Gives your pieces more room to move in the opening. Then try and develop your knights out towards the center on c3 and f3. Then that gives you time to see where the best place will be to put your bishops. So then you move those bishops out. And then you want to connect your rooks by moving your queen up, usually only to the second or third rank, because if you move your queen out too far into the middle of the board, it could become a target from your opponent. Your opponent's pieces could start attacking the queen and chasing it around, and then you would lose some time retreating. And then once your rooks are connected on the back rank, well then you can go ahead and maneuver them usually to half open files or completely open files if there are any, and then that gives your rooks more room to move up the board. You can put them in behind pawns that you've pushed forward to help support those pawns that you can use as a battering ram to push forward. All right, so now let's see what else is going on. I probably need to push up here to b3, and then that'll protect the knight. It'll guard, block this pawn that's under attack by the bishop. Although, if I move this rook and he took this pawn, I could try and block that bishop in and trap it there by pushing up to b3. That's one possibility. Something you have to watch out for if there's three pawns and your bishop's attacking the one on the edge, and it looks like a free pawn. Especially, experienced players probably know this, but beginners might think, oh, I can grab a free pawn. But you have to watch out. Your opponent could push the b pawn and trap the bishop in there. And then if you have another piece like the rook that can swing back over there and attack the bishop will kind of be trapped in there and probably be forced to capture on b3, and then you would recapture. So the bishop would get 2 pawns, but that's still not quite enough, as a bishop is worth about 3 pawns. All right, so he probably didn't know what to do, so he just moves his king up. Let's see. Yeah, he probably saw, there's a possible threat there, but he could have sacrificed, if I attacked his knight, he could sacrifice his bishop, and then his queen could recapture down here, checking me. I couldn't move here, or he would just capture my rook, of course. So I'd have to move my king, and then anyway, I don't want to deal with that. So, what do we do next? Just move this pawn up to block the path of the bishop. That sounds like a possibility here. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So I'll go ahead and do that before I waste too much time. And by pushing this pawn forward, it protects the knight. If a rook ends up here, then it can't do much. It wouldn't be able to attack that pawn. So I don't know. It kind of limits the opponent's rook if they land on the half-open b file. All right. So now. Okay, so this is interesting. He decides to move here. All right, and then that prevents my knight from being able to do anything here. I guess I could just attack think I'm going to go ahead and attack. Now, if I don't know, if I attack with my bishop by going here and he pushes the pawn and I go ahead and capture, you know, I don't know, maybe that's a decent move. Well, let's see. If I move my bishop up to c4, attacking his bishop, he could block with the pawn, you know, and then what? All right. Well, okay. And does this do anything? This queen check. If this pawn was out of the way and we check over here, I don't know if that really does much. You know, if we move this bishop, we have the chance to move this rook later if we have to. And what is this queen trying to do here? All right. Oh, he's going to try and attack my rook probably. Okay. You know, well, I won't have to worry about that for now. Okay. This is the decision. Bishop to c4. If he pushes his pawn and we capture, he could just recapture. Then our bishop is kind of limited. Okay. All right, well, guess we'll try that. We're wasting time, so we'll just push forward with our pawn, trying to get a better, keep a better eye on this d5 square. And now, let's see here. Okay, so he moves here, now with the threat of the attack here. So I'm going to go ahead and attack his queen, I think. If I attack his queen, what is his threat? So when your opponent makes a move, ask yourself, are there any possible checks that could cause problems? Then make sure all your pieces are protected and then your pawns. So this pawn is not protected. Well, I guess it is. If he captures, I could just move over here, capture with the rook. But I think I'm just going to attack his queen. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just attack the queen. All right, so attacking the queen, that forces him to make a decision. You know, what will he do now? The queen is under attack. All right, and we definitely need to do something about this rook. You know, so maybe we'll pile the rook up here on this. Although, you know, this would be a good square for the rook here on this half open file. Pretty tricky. He could just move his queen over to here, you know, and then what are we going to do? He moves his queen there. Okay, so he captures. So we will go ahead and capture with the rook. That way we don't break our pawns up. Okay, and now, let's see here. Now we need to do something about this other rook. You know, he could push his knight forward here. That's a possible move. attacking our bishop, which I don't know. I might let him have this bishop if he wants it and ignore that. I could, okay, so he does do that. I could just retreat and then, but I wouldn't be able to attack there. So, I mean, I could try and attack like this. All right. Do I ignore that and just develop the other piece? Okay, okay. Well, could ignore that knight, but Bobby Fischer had a rule about anytime your opponent's pieces cross the center of the board and enter your territory, you should do what you can to get them out of there. Okay, so I could just back up, which I may very well do. I think I'll do that. That'll kind of make the game a little more complicated. You know, he'll have to figure out what to do. And I could push this pawn up, fortify this one in the center. It'll allow my king to jump up here a little bit, to go up to f2, get closer to the center of the board. So I think I will work on doing that. All right. And if this pawn pushes forward, you know, my knight could maybe try and jump up in here. But I probably do need to do something about getting this rook up here to this half-open file. Because I could see us exchanging pawns. If he pushes forward, you know, and I capture, he recaptures, I capture, his knight could end up in here attacking me. You know, and then what? Then what do we do? All right. Well, at least he's burning some time down. Okay, so, you know, again, a review. Okay, well, here we go. He wants to open this up. So, usually you want to attack with your pawns from the side. But, you know, I think we're going to trade both of these pawns anyway. Let's see, let's see. Do I ignore him? Just attack his bishop? I could do that, but then he could retreat back here. All right, all right. Okay, am I just burning up too much time? Probably yes. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, we'll just trade down some more there. Now the problem is he could put a rook down here, you know, and that could cause me some problems. Okay, so he decides to go ahead and do that. All right, all right. Well, if we go here, try and keep control of this. All right, but we want to watch out for this knight jumping into the position here. Okay, okay. All right. Well, guess we're going back to there. And I definitely have to watch the time. Time is growing scarce here. All right. If the knight moves, I guess I could swing this other rook over here. And maybe I should attack his knight with my bishop. That would also be a decent move. Okay, so he threatens to come in there. So now we definitely have to go here because he's threatening a fork as well. Okay. All right, all right. So that is the threat, the fork there. So it looks like we have to move. We have to move. Whew. All right. So it looks like we have to go there. Now the problem is he could just move here with his bishop and threaten to jump his knight in there. All right. Well, it's looking crazy. All right, so now we should probably move, attack this knight. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll attack the knight. We attack his knight. He could be tempted to make a mistake to capture this and then attack my knight, but then I could capture and my rook would be protecting the knight here. Okay, so he just decides to do that. Well, it looks like we need to get rid of this. Get rid of that. Now, do we go up here and attack? Or do we just push forward here? All right. We'll just go ahead and do that. All right. So I don't know, we're hanging in there, but now our time is really low. So I'm definitely going to have to watch the time here. I need to jump this knight up here, maybe attack his bishop, but he could jump in here. So, if he puts his bishop there, I guess I could attack like this. All right. All right. So anyway, I'm attacking. this pawn. He might just move his bishop in here to d5. Then okay, so he does that. I guess I could just go ahead and attack him like this. Or do I just jump up here and try and get a better position? All right, let's just attack. We don't have time to think too much about it. So we will attack. But if I capture, that's going to leave him with this passed pawn here, which could be very dangerous. I don't know. This is pretty tricky. Pretty tricky stuff. It probably would, maybe it would have been better to jump up here and then, attack the rook. Then where would that rook move? That might have been the better move, to jump the knight up there. Okay. Well, here we go. Do that. Now we can go after this. And maybe get in behind this pawn. But I don't know. We might have to move, capture this, guard this, and swing this over to here. All right. Well, we'll go ahead with that plan. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. All right. So we go ahead and do that. But now this is going to be a problem. He's going to march forward. We're going to try and march our pawn forward. All right. Do we go after that? Yes, why not? We need to be careful. All right, what will he do now? He'll be able to pick this off. The game looks like it's heading towards a draw. A draw. All right, do I get behind the pawn? Usually rooks belong behind pawns here, so I definitely need to do that. All right, so now guess I could go there, bring this other one up to here. It kind of limits his pawns over here. Okay. And I need to push this pawn forward. Now, this game should be a draw, but, the time is getting pretty low. Okay, so he does that. Interesting, interesting. All right. Well, do I go there and protect? Do I push up, push forward? But then he could try and swing over here. All right. Well, do I let him take that and just start pushing my pawn forward? No, because then he'll cause all kinds of problems. If I move forward, he could swing over, try and get both rooks on here, and that could be trouble. So I guess I will play it safe there. And just see what he does. All right. That looks like it's heading towards a draw. Okay. All right, so I do that. He's probably going to take that and we'll trade down to just rooks. And, unless he tries to run me out of time, but okay, so now I should do that. Then kind of back away here. Yep, I'm going to accept a draw. All right, well, interesting. I hope you enjoyed that game. I wanted to explain more about openings. I tried to do some there. I picked an opening that I wasn't familiar with. So I'm going to do a game review in the next video. So I'll end this video here. That way it's not too extremely long. And I will do the game review. That way, if I do a whole video that's a game review, I can dig a little bit deeper. When I do these quick game reviews after a long game, I just don't review them in depth enough. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. And feel free to leave any comments or suggestions. And I hope you stay tuned and watch the game review video of this, what is that, part 43 in this chess rating run series. So have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.